around the brain. And that's actually your brain is broken down into three major parts. You have the hindbrain, you have the midbrain, and you have the forebrain. And the prefrontal cortex is part of that forebrain. And then in your midbrain is where you would have your amygdala, which is your emotional center. So when you think about the amygdala, unless you think about fight or flight, your amygdala and situation, it will help you determine if you should stand and fight or if you should flee the situation. So that's how
Hey, Doc.
Hey,
Dr. Russ, can you close your video? It's getting raspy now. I don't know if it's just me, but I think we have some people connecting from Zambia. They might not even be hearing you. Thank you. Just for this part, then you can open. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, say that again. The audio is breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, it's getting a little raspy. So we have people connecting from Africa. They might not hear you. So if you can close your video for now, so maybe we can get a clearer pathway there. Thank you. That should be better.
Okay, I have to take the video also. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see me, but it makes the audio much better. Can you please repeat that one more time?
Yes, you just took the video off. That's what I was asking. It's all good. It's good now. You can continue. Sorry about that.
I'm not.
You can continue. It's fine. It's fine, Doc. You can continue.
Okay, good. Can you repeat? Okay, repeat that now. I can get back to sharing the screen in a second. I think it's important to get what you're saying.
Well, when you were sharing with your video, you were getting a little raspy. So I was saying we have people who are connecting with us from Africa. Sometimes they can't hear because I'm having a hard time hearing. And so the audio kind of disappeared. So if you can keep your video off for now, so we can get the audio coming through. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am, that's fine.
Yeah, you're muted. You can share your screen back. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So as I was saying about the development of the brain is actually split into three major parts. You have your forebrain, which contains the prefrontal cortex, and then all the receptive information. So the information where, how do you see, how do you hear, how do you smell, how do you taste? All of that information is processed in this outer layer of brain areas. So as you get damage from that the brain, which is where your visual center is, the occipital lobe. So if you see in cartoons where they do one in the back of the head and you see stars, that's because the back of the head processes visual information. But all of that sensory information is then projected to the brain with the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, what did you say?
Audio is coming across very squeaky, noisy, not audible.
Okay, I will stop sharing. I think it's easier if I stop sharing for now and just speak.
Yes, and I think you have a video playing in the background, which is running commercials, so it's probably eating into the bandwidth. But that's fine. You can stop sharing with you. But I think it's a video which is playing and it's using up your memory because I could see some ads running. Yeah.
Okay, but, I think it's the advertisements that they have on the page. I'm sorry about that. Am I clearer now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I was trying to explain is that the prefrontal cortex, or the outer layer of the brain, is where all of the sensory information goes to after passing thalamus, which is in the midbrain. And that all that sensory information is then projected to the front of the brain, and then you can make decisions about what you're going to do regarding your environment. And that's known as the forebrain. Then we have the midbrain, which is the middle of the brain, where we have the hippocampus and the amygdala. And so the amygdala is the emotional center of the brain, and that kicks in. When I think of the amygdala or Amy, you think of fight or flight. So am I going to stay and fight the situation that I'm facing, or am I going to run away? What's the best thing to do for my safety? And that is your amygdala. When and you also then have the hippocampus, which is also in the midbrain, and that is the center of your memory center. How do you remember? It takes short-term memory, STM, and turn it into long-term memory. And I would like to use the video for a second, just so you can see something I'd like to show you with the hippocampus. And then I'll cut the video off shortly after that. Where am I here? Here we go. Okay, 1 second. My video should be kicking in now. So if you take your right hand and you make a C like I'm doing here, and you take your left hand and put it in between like this is actually the anatomy of the hippocampus. And so I can show you, but the information comes in where this bottom thumb is, and it projects the information to the middle area, and then it goes up here and makes into long-term memory. And that's how it converts short-term memory into long-term memory. And this is actually how I teach my students how to remember the anatomy of the hippocampus, which is pretty cool. But the hippocampus is very important for you to have recall, so you don't have to relearn everything that you experience. So when we talk about depression, right, what happens is you have this experience that the amygdala processes, and this information is remembered in the hippocampus, and that information then is brought to the prefrontal cortex, where you actually respond to a situation. And so it's the combination of this emotional response, your memory of what happened last time, and then how to respond to that is actually what you do with your prefrontal cortex. And just like you go to the gym, you work out a muscle, you have to work out your brain the same way. And this is what Dr. Stella is saying, that, you can learn tactics that can minimize your emotional response. It can maximize your memory, and it can also help you have a faster executive function, making decisions on what to do. And that's why you see athletes can respond in situations that they're familiar with quicker than just a normal person, because they practice. So while the brain is not a muscle, you can work it like a muscle with these tactics that we have. And others have created similar tactics for similar things. But it's I just wanted to say about the importance of these three things working together. And so depression is a very complex thing, and it's also individualized, because there can be an experience that may cause one person to be depressed, and another person may have the same experience and they might not be depressed. So there's a lot of things to figure out as far as individuality and how that goes into it. But as creatures, as biological creatures, we're pretty predictable. And we can use our understanding of these three different areas and how they work together in an individual person to determine how to cater what they need, the tactics that they need to handle their situation. So we can generalize, but then you want to understand that individual and how do they see the world? What type of emotional person they are? How does their memory work? And you use all of that as a professional to then go ahead and create actual specific tactics for individuals. I hope that added something to it. There's one more point that I did want to add, because you mentioned the limbic system, and I put some of this in. Let me get off the audio again. I put some of this into the chat that you can see. So the hippocampus turns STM, short-term memory, into LTM, long-term memory. Now, Amy is responsible for fight or flight. Am I going to fight or am I going to run? What's the best, safest thing for me to do? And your prefrontal cortex is your decision maker. It's the executive function. Like an executive board makes a decision, your prefrontal cortex is your executive board. So the other thing from that is your limbic system. And what goes on with depression is if you go through this repetitive cycle, it activates your limbic system, which actually, if you know about dopamine, you probably heard of that before, but that's where a lot of drugs of abuse and things work on, is the limbic system. And so if you're in say, an abusive relationship, you might go through that cycle so much that it actually stimulates release of dopamine, and you actually become addicted to a negative situation. And it becomes harder and harder to get out of that situation because you have these endorphins, these things that make you, make your brain. It's a reward system, basically. The limbic system is the reward system. So now you're rewarded for being in an abusive situation. It might not be cognitively to your consciousness, but that's what's going on a molecular level in your brain. And so the better we understand that, the better we can help and treat individuals. And the better an individual understands themselves, the better they can help self therapeutics. So I think I will leave it there for any questions. I hope that added something to the talk.
That's actually well put, and thank you so much, Doc. So I like that limbic system part. And so next week, we're really going to talk about this because, as you put it, and as I said earlier, so what ends up happening, instead of decisions coming from the front, which is the prefrontal cortex, decisions are being driven from the back end of things. And so I've heard quite a few young people who are not in this room today connecting with me and talking about they're addicted to certain behaviors or certain foods or certain practices. And I just want to let you know that keep this at the back of your mind, that then certain habits tend then to allow the body to secrete these happy pills or create these happy moments, which when that is taken away, you then drop. So that's one of the challenges we face. So sometimes that is food, just the food which normally we would eat just for sustenance. It now becomes a pleasurable moment. And I've heard clients who tell me this, I got to have my ice cream, and yet they're dying with diabetes. So I'm not here to scare anyone, but I just want us to now think, and based on what we shared today, our hope is that next week we will provide for you the depression screening test, and then you can know where you are. And then we can talk now about the chemicals which play these roles, because for these signals to really go places, like from the front to the back, to the hands, to the head, to the feet, to the ears, to the, there is some chemicals which are released fast, which turns on the lights. That's why you see in life, there are some people, you say something they don't like, they're gonna be ready to punch you right away. And that can happen. And so every single one of us have potential for that. But then if we can better understand how to turn off the switches and to turn on certain switches, we can all be on that path of normalcy. So most of you are thinking, well, is it why now with this COVID thing, we're seeing a lot more depression, some thoughts of suicide or suicidal ideations, or we are seeing a lot of broken relationships? Yes, that is part of the whole equation, because we are human beings who responds to what's inside us, right? So if there's a reward system, for instance, if we just say, ask a question, for those of you who attended all of Dr. Stella's questions since last year in October, it's been a year, raise your hand, you're gonna get $100. Some people will really be fighting me to say, I was at your sessions. I didn't keep a roster, so I don't know. But I'm just letting you know that sometimes when you throw in a reward, we all want it. And life is like that to all of us. We all want to be millionaires one day. And so we thrive for this. But however, when our efforts don't get us to where we ought to be or where we thought we wanted to be, sometimes we feel down. And it's normal. However, depression is a situation where you are feeling sad, you're now getting tearful, you're now neglecting your normal activities or activities which match your age and sex and demographic of where you live. So that's really is very fluid and it's relative, because depression for me might be different from depression for you. So someone might be depressed and they stop going to church, or someone might be depressed and they're now very overly sexually active when they never used to do that, or they're now on substances, or they're partying a lot, they're now at nightclubs a lot, or they're just shopping, they're spending all the money they don't have on credit cards. So that's why we wanted to really touch base with the basics of the brain so we can stop to think. When was the last time I felt normal? That's a question I ask people sometimes. When was the last time you really felt normal? Like you're really doing the things you want to do and you're feeling good about yourself. Sometimes it's been a while for certain people. So I don't want to really spend too much time talking. I know you're all excited to go home and get a piece of paper and try to draw the wise owl and put a definition to what the wise owl does for you, and draw Amy and say, hey, Amy, you're a toothless dog. I'm not gonna let you just be biting when you have no dogs, teeth. And then you say, hey, Hippo, thank you for doing the shelving for me. And this is how I'm gonna help you. I'll go to bed early so you can shelve things quick into the long-term memory. And that's a strategy I used when I was younger. There's something I did more of was sleep. Nothing would come between my sleep and I. So when I was in college or high school, it didn't matter what I was learning in school. I got that sleep so hard. I still sleep hard. And my memory would just work like the hippo elephant style. And I still do that. So sleep is a strategy. For those of you who are experiencing challenges, try and get that 7-8 hours of sound sleep. And if you're having challenges with sleeping, just go run a mile if you can. You can run a mile walk. You can walk a mile, dance. If you can't dance for 30 minutes, then just crawl around on the floor. Because when you do that physical activity, it speeds up things, makes the heart race, pumps the blood goes places. And here you go, Prifi, Amy, and Hippo is getting the nutrients, the oxygen for them to get fired up. All right, people, it's time for question time. Let me hear you. Those of you who have been
There
activated.
is a question in the chat. There's a question that's been written in the chat.
Yes.
So
Go ahead,
someone asked in the chat, how would you help relieve pain in someone with sciatic nerve or is limping in order to avoid such painkillers such as tramadol and amitriptyline?
Yeah.
So how do you avoid? Yes. Go ahead.
So I'm the pain expert. I know exactly how to deal with sciatica. So if that person is in the room, I'll really offer them a free telehealth session through my practice, and I'll be able to help them. Or if they are anywhere close to where they can get to a physical therapist or chiropractor, they'll need to have it assessed. So the reason why people get sciatica sometimes is trauma with all these accidents which happen every day on the highways. Sometimes it's previous falls, sometimes it's just tightening, sometimes it's narrowing of the little holes where the nerves come through the back. But in general, stretching could help relieve some of those symptoms. So I'm not here to treat you during this session, but hey, Vihati, can you put my email or Dr. G in the chat box there? That person can email me, and then I'll be able to either help them remotely or line them up with someone who can help them in their area. Is that okay? Is that a fair answer?
And that's excellent. And I would also like them to think about, in the meantime, why do we feel pain? So not necessarily what pain is, but why do you think, what's the purpose of feeling pain? So to just kind of answer, I guess, to answer my own question is, so, we have pain receptors, right? Pain is a warning sign. It's a signal. It's a protective mechanism, right? So we have these pain receptors to be able to protect the body from further damage. So it's basically a warning system to protect your body from further damage. And there are ways to actually behaviorally manipulate that, right? And that's what Dr. Stella is talking about. And what I find interesting about pain is that once you are used to the brain, again, is just like a muscle. If you buck your toe and your toe's hurting, you will see that right before, if you're about to buck your toe again, you almost feel like you're in pain before you actually buck it. Because you will learn that this bucking your toe will lead to pain. So now just the proposition of bucking your toe can actually begin to release the same molecules that would lead to this pain. So it's just a very interesting thing, the whole pain system as well, from a neurological standpoint.
Perfect. I like that. And there's that pain gate theory, which also is a factor that when somebody has had chronic pain for too long, the gate needs to be closed. So things like TENS unit and some of these behavioral, cognitive behavioral therapies can help, because sometimes the physical ailment is not longer an issue, but chronic pain does do that based on the A and the delta alpha and the delta fibers, which transmit this pain. So anyhow, I hope we answered your question. I'm now leaning towards, do we have any more questions today? What are your thoughts? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for answering that question. Actually, I was just answering for someone. It's a lady, an Adventist, who came to a health retreat, which have just come from for medical missionaries. But she was just invited by a friend to attend. But I realized she was limping when I asked her. She said, oh, she's had sciatica nerve for a few months now. She's been seeing the doctor, and the doctor is just giving her painkillers like tramadol, and it's giving her hallucinations. And now she doesn't know what to do next, because she was told now she has to, that's what will help her with the pain.
Understandable. Is she located locally, or you're in?
Yeah, in the UK. In the UK. She's in the UK. We are in the UK.
Okay,
but we are not in the same address. So I wanted to know if I could maybe tell her to contact you or something like that.
Yes, I can have them, connect with us through our platform, and so we can direct them to where they can go.
That would be very helpful, because she feels traumatized by that pain and is not getting better even if she's on painkillers.
Understandable. Yeah, understandable. Yeah.
Thank you.
Most welcome. It's good to see you. Welcome back, Empress. We feel that energy. You've been on the medical missionary trip. Next week, be prepared to share with us some of those tips from the medical missionary arena.
Yes, I will, especially the loss of the mind. Like we've been trying to say, it's just the mind that you have to set, you have to retrain, so that you have to get the right things instead of getting used to doing wrong things, or like not being able to manage your anger, all these other things. Yes, we will share.
Okay, thank you. We'll look forward to hearing from you, because we'll be talking about depression next week. Yeah, that's great. We should have passed this baton back to our hosts. Kind of forgot. Joanne, forgive us.
Can I ask a quick question, Dr. Stella?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted, you said about doing the jogging and whatever. I just wondered, does it really matter if you did it in the morning or the evening in terms of your sleep?
Morning is better for most people. I prefer morning than evening, because sometimes when you do it close to your sleep, it's hard to sleep. But some people will tell you that they prefer to do it in the evening because they sleep better, because it makes them tired, especially if they are great thinkers who think through the night. But, traditionally, it's better for most people in the mornings, if they are able to. And you can break it down where you do 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. And I believe I gave you the formula. I don't know if you were present, Helen, of what your target heart rate is. That's very important to hit that target. And it varies from age to age. So it's 220 minus your age, and then you get a 60 to 70% range of that. That's your heart rate target. These trackers does it for us, but you can calculate it and measure your own pulse rate. So for most physical activity to be beneficial to an individual, you have to spend 30 minutes within that range of the target heart rate. Whether it's
Fantastic.
on the
Thank
lower
you.
end. Yeah, thank you. I hope that's helpful.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Vihati, we'll take your question before we pass it back to our host here, who's patiently waiting all the way from the country of Zambia. I love it. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Stella, I'm so happy to hear you on again. I am so regrettably sorry that I did not get in from the beginning. Hence, I don't know much of what was said. But I think I'm have to go and find it on your YouTube to get the understanding of your presentation. I just have a question as it regards to pain. I suffered, the only thing that happened to me in COVID, I suffered a pinched nerve. At times, I find it very hard to get that leg moving because when I learned that it was a pinched nerve, I did not go back to the doctor, but he asked me to come back. I didn't. I went jogging and running a little bit after 1 week of medication, so I didn't go back for anymore. What are some of the stretches that I could do to help me? It's on my right side, so I still can't stretch that leg. I twist it as though I would want.
Okay, we can connect. You have my email, so email me. We can definitely. And yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome. It's always good to hear you all the way from Jamaica. I like the fact that you both asked these questions on pain. Sometimes that pain can lead to sadness and depression too. There's a connection between when you're hurting, you are in pain. So trying to find that solution is the key. In most places, you could find a physical therapist, a chiropractor, or a physician, or some of the physiatrists who work with pain, and to get to the underlying cause for sure. But I also want to say sometimes constipation can cause back pain for some people. So just making sure you're regular. And when it comes to regularity of your bowels, fiber is your friend and water is your friend. All right, so let's take the next question here before we end this session on a happy note. Any more questions? Oh, the website.
And let me just add that, so as you said, pain is not just physical. There's a combination. Pain is physical and there's a cognitive component. And that's what allows us to be able to offer, non-pharmacological methods to help with that pain as well.
Exactly. That is so true. And I also want to say this. Take a moment. Give yourself a hand. You're a champion. You've done great things. And sometimes we don't give ourselves credit. We don't have self-compassion. We give ourselves a hard time because we are not getting certain things done at a certain time. So I always like to remind all my clients, give yourself a hand for being here. So if there's anything you can remember from this session is that you're worth loving, you're worth caring for. Be compassionate with you. And also, just remember to be present. Remember how I shared my story of the river experience? I could let myself drown in that river experience the rest of my life and I'll be forever drowned. But at some point, I had to shift. I had to shift from my pain to my purpose. And I also had to realize that I'm not powerless. The only moment I was powerless is when I was upside down. But when he let me down on the ground, I started walking. So I just want to encourage someone because I believe that this is the season. And also just to let you know, being connected with each other, connectedness is very important. And I want to say thank you to all our regular people here, Vihati, Empress, Joanne, Dimuna, Mona, iPad, Helen, everyone, Sharon. We really appreciate you. We realize that this topic is a repeat topic. That's why our attendance is low today. Usually we have 50, 60 people in here. But there's so many sessions going on with depression. And most people are like, oh, I've already heard that. But I want to tell you one thing. When you become a lifelong learner, like I am, and Dr. GIR, Dr. Rastafus, that's his name. we soak in order to champion the good. You got to become a lifelong learner. Always carry your little notebook, write things down. And if you can't carry a notebook, text yourself. And if you can't text yourself, email yourself. Because this lifelong learning journey, it's such that we all have to embark on it. It's not a shortage of information. It's a shortage of doers and note takers. So anyhow, I just thought I'll share this with you all, and we'll hand it back to our host, who's been quietly, patiently waiting. Joanne, you're just one of my favorite people in the Zambian state of Zambia, country of Zambia. I better not say it too loud because Dimun is here. He's one of my favorite. We deal with a lot of youth in the state of Zambia, some of whom are here, and my two right and left arm people are in the room right now. And I say this because the other people are not here. We appreciate them because it's at night over there. Did you know that in Zambia it's at night? They're still here. So Joanne, please, we'll give you the last words and closing thoughts and prayer. And I want to thank you because you always show up. When it's my turn, you show up. I like that. I love that.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for the beautiful presentation, Dr. Stella and what's his name? Dr. who? Sorry.
Just call him Dr. Rastafar.
Okay.
He's the Rasta without the dreads. You won't forget him, Dr. Ras.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ras. Thank you so much, Dr. Stella, and everybody that has joined us today. We thank you very, very much. So you can if you want to go back to this presentation, you can check YouTube. It will this recording will be sent in our WhatsApp groups. So if you're not in our WhatsApp group, especially the lady that has joined today, Dr. Stella, do you have the link?
I'll post it. I'm looking for it now, Joanne.
Okay. So if you want to join our WhatsApp groups, you can join through the link, and then the recording can be sent, and then you can go back and listen. I will pray just after she posts the link. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Yes, and Dr. Ras, you can share your email in case people have questions for you as well. They can connect with you directly.
Yes.
It's always nice to have a neuroscientist around among us. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm trying to post it. Let me see.
I just did, and I will get a updated email through the Dynamics Therapeutics so they can have, okay?
Perfect. Huh, it's not pasting, Joanne. My finger is not working today. I do it through the finger. If anyone is not in the WhatsApp group, just text me on WhatsApp. Here's my number. And then I'll just send you the link. It's 1352414. I should not give it aloud.
Just post it in the chat.
Yes, I'm doing that. There you go. Text me and then I'll give you. So we are good. We're so good. It's exciting to be here. Thank you. Let's stop this
and
recording.
big up my Jamaicans in the room. Big up to the Jamaicans in the room. Yes.
All right. Thank you. So just put Prifi, Amy, and Hippo to work and to work right. Thank you. Yes, Joanne, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good day. It's night here. It's actually 10 p.m. So good night from Zambia. Good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're joining us from. Thank you. I will pray. Thank you, Heavenly Lord, for the opportunity you gave us to learn about our brains and how we can go forward with everything we have learned. We glorify your holy name and we thank you for the doctors that gave us this information today. I pray that you may continue to bless them. And thank you, Heavenly Lord, for always being with us. I pray in Jesus' name, because of God's given. Amen.
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 Thank you all.
See
Bye.
you. See you next 2 weeks. We are going to be here. So see ya. Take care.
Yes. Join us again next week. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
Dr. Philo, I really enjoyed it. You're such a beauty. And Dr. Rastagdop, God bless you. Return to your home country soon.
I'm working on it, We'll be there. I'll be there with Dr. Stella.
Yay! If she comes there, I want to keep her for myself. I don't want her to go back. I'm selfish with her.
Where you from? I'm from Spring Garden.
Oh, I'm in Kingston. I'm a Kingstonian.
Oh, you're a city girl. I'm from the bush.
Yes, Spring Garden is St. Thomas. Are you from St. Thomas, Jamaica?
Yes, in Spring Garden, St. Thomas. Yes, yes.
Oh,
Princess
okay.